You're at the intersection with Michael Popok, only on the Midas Touch Network. We sit at that intersection together of law, politics, and the defense of democracy. And tonight's topics, we got to talk about the Epstein scandal, the Trump-Epstein cover-up scandal that's ripping apart MAGA and joining together Democrats and Republicans who are demanding the release of the Epstein files. And they're attacking Donald Trump for being, I never thought I'd say this, although I always thought it, soft on pedophilia. I mean, does it have anything to do with the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was a close personal friend of Donald Trump's? They partied together. He was his wingman. They chased after girls together and women together. Mar-a-Lago was the ground zero and where Epstein met many of the young women. Is that surprising to anybody? We're going to cover not only the scandal, but how Donald Trump miscalculated over the weekend, and now MAGA and America First is attacking him as being soft on pedophilia and not willing to take down the deep state and becoming the deep state himself. This is a gift that Democrats are not ignoring. Then we're going to talk about what's going on at the Department of Justice and with judges. We'll start with Emil Bove, Donald Trump's former criminal defense lawyer, and now up for a big job, lifetime appointment to an appellate court. He's never even been a judge before. Why has the Federalist Society come out against him and Donald Trump against the Federalist Society? What is it about the 27-page single-space whistleblower report that may scuttle his candidacy? What does Cory Booker have to say about it all? What are the Democrats doing to try to bring Emil Bove down? As Pam Bondi, who looks like she's not going to survive the attacks by the MAGA right wing about her handling of the Epstein files, as she turns around and starts firing dozens and dozens of career, really smart Department of Justice lawyers, draining the brain out of the Department of Justice. At the same time that the Democrats, led by people like Senator Cory Booker, are going after Emil Bove and by extension this administration. And then we've got about 70 different Donald Trump administration, Department of Justice lawyers who are voting with their feet and beating it to the exits because they refuse to preside over the wrecking of our constitutional republic, not on our watch. The Supreme Court made yet another ruling that has enabled Donald Trump not just to shrink the federal government, but to destroy the relationship between the federal government and its people, the sacrosanct relationship, part of which is the social safety net, which provides dignity to people related to their health care, food, related to their literacy, related to all things. And now it's allowed the Department of Education to be put out to pasture, taken in the back and shot by Donald Trump. I'm dumber just for having to report this story, that Donald Trump would dismantle the Department of Education and the United States Supreme Court would allow him. Now there's new lawsuits against the cutting in funding related to the Department of Education as the resistance and the opposition and the defiance against the Trump administration that is so important continues. The economy has a vote, and it's voted thumbs down on Trumponomics. Donald Trump is so out of tune and has such warped economic policies, raising tariffs on our European and other trading nations, which are raising prices on consumers as the consumer price index goes through the roof, and everything is more expensive than it was before Trump claimed power again. I thought he was supposed to solve the economic problem, just like he was supposed to solve the Ukraine war. I mean, as I came on to air to record for today for this intersection, you got Donald Trump reportedly asking Zelensky of Ukraine, can you hit Moscow from where you're at? First of all, how does he not know that? How does he not know that? Because, again, he drained the brains out of the Pentagon. He's got no one in the Pentagon he can trust to answer those questions. He's got nobody in his intelligence community. His intelligence community is lacking in intelligence. Who leads that? Tulsi Gabbard? Who leads Pentagon? The Fox and Friends weekend anchor and Pete Hegseth? These are questions an American president doesn't ask of an ally. He knows the answers. Can Zelensky, with his U.S. arms and NATO arms, reach Moscow? And the fact that it comes out, and what does that lead to? It leads to the press secretary having to say, well, he's not in favor of killing more people. He was just asking a question. Asking a question? Try turning to your Joint Chiefs of Staff if you had anybody of value around the table. So I had that as I came on the air. And then just to show you how out of touch with the economy they are, because they're all crypto billionaires at this point. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, multi-billionaire, millionaire, Treasury Secretary. Donald Trump heavily invested in cryptocurrency. They're so warped by cryptocurrency and all that it brings in the bubble that they've created that they can't align themselves or empathize with the common individual, with the American citizen. They don't know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. They don't know what it's like to go to a check cashing store. They don't know what it's like to not be able to sleep at night because you can't figure out how to put a roof over your child's head, feed them, educate them. Now the Department of Education has been destroyed. Care for a loved one, care for an elderly member of your family or friends. Make sure there's Meals on Wheels. That's now been destroyed by Donald Trump. Medicare, Medicaid drained of $1 trillion. Food stamps too. And all at the same time, you've got the Commerce Secretary caught on a clip by Patriot Takes bragging about a $1,100 bottle of tequila that he was apparently gifted. So that show you this group's in touch or out of touch with the suffering of the American people, because their policies are so warped by their own personal fortunes and by their own cryptocurrency devotion and investments. I mean, Donald Trump on cryptocurrency alone, let's stay there for a minute, on cryptocurrency alone has over $600 million worth of assets, and I think that's a low estimate. He's heavily invested in it. Truth Social doesn't make any money. It loses $30 million a quarter, has no business model, sells no ads. Nobody's on there but Donald Trump, apparently. But they raised enough money from enough suckers in order to buy $2.7 billion worth of cryptocurrency to shore up their balance sheet. That's what they are now. They're a shell corporation that buys cryptocurrency. That's not what it says in their filings. If you look at their Securities and Exchange Commission filings, such as they are. But this is the reason, staying on the economy for a minute, this is the reason the economy is in shambles. The Consumer Price Index, which is one of the best measures of pain and suffering, or how people are doing, is up considerably. Prices are up this month over last month, 0.3%. 0.3% in a month. Overall, from this year to last year, up over 1%. The tariffs alone, anything related to a tariff, household goods coming from overseas, apparel coming from overseas, electronics, TVs and computers coming from overseas, all up over 1%. Everything is more expensive that matters to you, including gas, including what's at the supermarket, including your rent. I thought the reason that Donald Trump ran for office and the bill of goods he sold to the voters is that he would make their life better economically. Has that happened? The only one whose life has been made better economically are people in Trump's administration, his cabinet, and Donald Trump and his family. That should be held against him as we pin the tail on that. I'd say the donkey, but we pin the tail on that elephant come the midterm elections. The economy is rejecting Trumponomics. He's raised the tariffs to a level we haven't seen since 1910. It's at the effective tariff rate. Forget about all this freezing and non-freezing. The effective tariff rate is already at 14.6%, up from 2%. Sure, a couple of more dollars have come in on July 1, paid from some of these countries that are scared shitless by Donald Trump. Hasn't replaced the loss in Internal Revenue Service revenue from American taxpayers who aren't paying their taxes. The Internal Revenue Service has been hollowed out. Its budget has been cut. Its emphasis and its focus has been diverted by Donald Trump. So tax receipts are way down, and there's some, maybe a quarter of it's coming in by way of tariffs. And all the tariffs, who's paying for them? The American consumer. When Donald Trump beats up our NATO alliance and threatens to put a 30% or 35% tariff tax on the 27 countries that make up the European Union, which is mainly NATO, where does he think the money's going to come from? They're just going to tax American companies doing business in those countries to collect the money, which is going to be passed down through the consumers. That's Trumponomics. And that's why it's a failed proposition. He just hopes nobody notices by the time the midterms roll around. The only one that's making money right now, besides the cryptocurrency people riding the bubble created by Donald Trump, is the Wall Street traders and brokers, because they live and die on volatility. They don't care about stock going up or down. They just want it to go up and down. They want volume trading because they make money by commissions on those block trades, on those trades. So the volatility helps brokerages. Volatility helps financial services, helps companies like Cantor Fitzgerald, owned by the sons, wink, wink, of Howard Lutnick, who's our commerce secretary, the guy that's bragging about the $1,200 tequila bottle, while average Americans don't have 2 pennies to rub together and are trying to figure out how to put food on a table with an increasingly more expensive grocery basket or cart. So the economy is voting against the Trump administration. And then we've got the Epstein cover-up scandal. And sometimes it's the scandal and it's the cover-up. See, Donald Trump rode the dragon of propaganda conspiracy theories. He loved QAnon. He loved Pizzagate and the attacks on the Democrats, claiming they were pedophiles. They were running a pedophilia ring out of pizza parlors and eating children also. I'm not making that up. And all of the people in his administration that matter, the Attorney General Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, a right-wing podcaster, and Dan Bongino, another right-wing podcaster, they lived and feasted on the conspiracy theories about vaccines and about the election and other things. And now the person that was elected to destroy the deep state and the pedophilia within it is now being accused of being soft on pedophilia, because he's going soft on his former buddy, Jeffrey Epstein, who used Mar-a-Lago to collect women and girls and ultimately raped them. Because Donald Trump partied and was a wingman for Jeffrey Epstein in New York and in Florida, where Jeffrey Epstein's Upper East Side apartment was near Trump Tower and his home on Palm Beach was near Mar-a-Lago. And they went out and partied together, and there's video proof of it, and there's photo receipts about it. And Donald Trump has miscalculated what MAGA felt about pedophiles and about Jeffrey Epstein. So they thought, and they demanded, when Trump returned to the White House, that he and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel dismantle the deep state and release all the Jeffrey Epstein files. What are those files? Jeffrey Epstein was prosecuted, and he had a couple of search warrants executed against his homes. According to Michael Wolff, a journalist who's appeared on Legal AF, the YouTube channel, just in the last 72 hours, there was a safe that they had access to that had photographs of Donald Trump and Epstein. How does he know that? Because he interviewed in 2014 Epstein for hours for a potential book that he was going to write about him. And he saw the photos. He said, where are the photos now? They must be in the possession of the FBI. It's gotten so bad. In Donald Trump's attempt over the weekend to tamp down the whole controversy, that it was like pouring gasoline on the fire instead and blew up in his face. He wrote a social media post that got ratioed. That's a term. He posted a social media post that got more comments than likes. And when you get more comments, most of them negative, in which Donald Trump was trying to send MAGA to their rooms, he literally called them boys and gals. Boys and gals, you got to get off the Epstein thing. There's nothing to see here. You're playing into the hands of the Democrats. We're doing great. Just stop talking about Epstein. And instead, that posting on Truth Social got ratioed. More comments than likes. Because MAGA and the right-wingers are suspicious now. In fact, a lot of them are questioning whether Donald Trump is covering up Jeffrey Epstein because of his own involvement with the pedophilia scandal. To the point where today, Donald Trump was asked a point-blank question by the media at a press conference. It wasn't even a press conference. He was just on the lawn with the helicopter, Marine One in the background. And they said, point blank, they said to him, did you ask Pam Bondi whether your name is in the Epstein files? He said, what question? Pam Bondi can release what she wants. I just don't think she should. There's a lot of stuff in there. Then I love when he blames Biden and Obama and Comey for putting fake things in the Epstein file. He's only reinforcing that the Epstein file is 90% of it has not been released. 90% of it. Remember all those phony binders that Pam Bondi tried to hand out at Mar-a-Lago at the White House? It might as well be Mar-a-Lago at the White House to the right-wing influencers and podcasters. They all walked away with little binders from FedEx and Kinko's or whatever it's called now. You know, like, oh, I got the Epstein files. Yeah, they don't have the Epstein files. And then to try to tamp down, this was a great plan, try to tamp down the fact that the natives were getting restless and have now picked up rocks about the Epstein scandal and the cover-up. The DOJ and the FBI issue a 2-page closeout memo. Oh, we feel better already. They're closing it out, everybody. Nothing to see here. First of all, the closeout memo is undated and unsigned. What cowards. What cowards. Nobody took ownership of the closeout memo at all. And it said, there's no client list, despite the fact that Pam Bondi said there was. There's no client list. And by implication, I guess, or by hallucinatory imagination, Donald Trump's name's not on it because it doesn't exist. And he wasn't murdered. See, MAGA wants him to have been murdered because that's the cover-up. That's the conspiracy. He was an Israeli agent. There was a pedophile and working for the deep state. But the problem with that is the logical conclusion is Donald Trump is the deep state because his best friend or one of his good friends was by his own proclamation, was Jeffrey Epstein. So then they have to have the sneaking suspicion that Trump is covering it up because his name is in there. That's why Elon Musk says release the files already. Laura Loomer says we're not going to rest until a special counsel has been appointed, and she's trying to get rid of the attorney general along the way. Michael Flynn, lieutenant general, who Trump had a pardon, said you have to release the files. It's not going away. Jack Posobiec, this right-wing MAGA, he says out loud at a Tampa conference of students related to the Turning Point organization that we're going to go Jan 6 all over the Epstein files, meaning either he meant, I don't know if he meant the Jan 6 committee, we need to have a committee, a blue ribbon panel, or we're going to go Jan 6 and attack the Capitol over the failure to release the Epstein files. And now the Democrats, well, why not, have gotten into it. I mean, when you're given a gift, don't turn it back. And so people like Ro Khanna, Congressperson Ro Khanna, has taken to the Congress floor, the House floor, demanding the release of the Epstein files and basically tagging anyone that's standing in the way of that, looking at you, Donald Trump, as being an enabler of pedophiles. He's not wrong about that. Why aren't the files released if there's nothing to hide? I mean, we're releasing the RFK files, the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files I haven't even asked for or couldn't care less about at this point. We're not going to release the Epstein files. But this tin ear of Donald Trump and showing that he doesn't have the power to control MAGA the way some people once thought, even Donald Trump, is incredible. So this is a story that we will and need to continue to follow, this cover-up and the calling out. I mean, you got Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for the disclosure of the Epstein files. See, Donald Trump's not, quote unquote, taking down the deep state fast enough. He's not chasing the conspiracy theories fast enough or dismantling them. And that's pissing off MAGA. Again, He who rides the tiger fears the dismount. He who rides into office, riding the great dragon of conspiratorial propaganda, QAnon driven, will be taken down by that sword as well. I'm going to continue to follow that. We're going to talk about the Department of Justice and the draining of the brains by Pam Bondi and Ed Martin, and what's going to happen with Emil Bove as Senator Cory Booker and Adam Schiff are going to go after him, continue to go after him in the Senate confirmation hearings. The Supreme Court making a major ruling, could be the most momentous ruling to Donald Trump and to the American people, in severing the relationship between Donald Trump and the American people and the federal government by way of Donald Trump that we have seen in our lifetime. I'm going to cover all of that and so much more at the intersection. So many ways to support what we do here. No paywall, no outside investors. First thing is, this is a brand new podcast up on Apple Pod, and Spotify, all those other places. So go over to those places, download it, leave a 5-star review and comment. I read the comments. It does help with the show and the production. Makes you feel connected to what we do here. So that's one thing. You're here on the Midas Touch Network. Hit the subscribe button here. Come on over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Great news there. Legal AF, the YouTube channel, just crossed the 200 million views threshold. We've only been around since September of 2024. That's all because of you. 10 new videos a day. Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Hit the free subscribe button there. Legal AF, the Substack, where we post all of the filings and Supreme Court rulings and Department of Justice memos and all the things we talk about, along with commentary on Legal AF Substack. Help us there as well. And finally, we've got Legal AF, the Legal AF, the podcast, which is on Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Midas Touch Network. We are regularly in the top 20 of all podcasts on YouTube rankings. Just hit that number this past week. We're in the top 50 regularly on Apple for the audio version. And these things all matter to the algorithms and otherwise, but we're continuing to grow organically this pro-democracy podcast and YouTube channel and community with your help. So I'm going to take a quick break from our pro-democracy sponsors. When we come back, we're going to be in the home stretch of the intersection. And here's a word from our sponsors. Summer is officially here, which means mosquito season is in full swing. And I'll be honest, in my house, it's a battle every night. That annoying buzzing that keeps you up, waking up covered in bites, trying to catch one before it disappears. Yeah, we've all been there. And when you're trying to keep your home safe for the kids or just get a decent night's sleep, good luck. Introducing this episode's sponsor, Bazigo Iris, your smart home mosquito detector. Bazigo Iris is a cutting-edge device that uses computer vision and AI to detect, track, and pinpoint mosquitoes in real time. No more guessing, no more swatting at thin air. Just a simple, precise way to finally take control of your space. Here's how it works. Bazigo's advanced system monitors your room 24/7. Once a mosquito lands, it uses an eye-safe laser to mark its location. You get real-time notifications via the Baziga app. Even if you're not in the room, it even works in total darkness using infrared tech. No sprays, no toxins, just smart protection. Ideal for bedrooms and perfect for travel with travel mode. And you can pair with the Bazigo Swatter for easy elimination once the target is marked. Stop losing sleep over mosquitoes. Take back your nights with Bazigo. Go to bazigo.com/discount/legalaf and save 10% off. That's bzigo.com/discount/legalaf and use the code legalaf to get 10% off. And right now, just in time for peak mosquito season, Bazigo is running an amazing sale. 30% off your second device for any room in the home. For our podcast listeners only. Right now, if you use the code LEGALAF, you'll get 10% off your entire order plus the 30% sale. It's a deal you can't find anywhere else. Say goodbye to itchy bites and sleepless nights. Thank you, Bazigo, for sponsoring this episode. The weather, it's heating up, and your nighttime bedroom temperature has a huge impact on your sleep quality. If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA and use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. Using silver-infused fabrics inspired by NASA, Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, no matter the weather, so you get better sleep every night. Miracle sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some five-star hotels. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Bacteria can clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne. Sleep clean with Miracle. Upgrade your sleep as the weather heats up. Go to trymiracle.com/legalaf to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo LegalAF at checkout, you'll get a free 3-piece towel set and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/legalaf and use the code LegalAF to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/legalaf to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. Welcome back to The Intersection with Michael Popok on the Midas Touch Network. New podcast, take a moment. Come on over to The Intersection on our audio version over wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe, follow, download, and leave a 5-star review. It all helps. And if you're here, send this clip off to other people and ask them to join The Intersection every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on the Midas Touch Network. Okay, let's talk about the Department of Justice. You got 70 different people in the Trump Department of Justice in the Federal Programs Division, which is the section of the Department of Justice that tries to defend all things related to Trump agencies and the White House, which basically is his entire domestic portfolio. 70, or 2/3 of them, have left, including half of the supervisors, because they can't take it anymore. According to Reuters, they just can't stand idly by with the destruction of our constitutional republic and rule of law that they swore an oath to defend. And so they're voting with their feet and they're heading for their exits. And you know where they're going? I just had on my show Skye Perryman, who runs Democracy Forward, and groups like that in the American Civil Liberties Union and Norm Eisen's group and attorneys general around the country are picking up this talent to go work for them in defense of democracy. So don't feel sorry for them. They're still fighting for our democracy, but now they'll do it from outside the government. I mean, we just had Pam Bondi, scandal-ridden Pam Bondi, about to be fired by Donald Trump. Pam Bondi, the one that Laura Looney Loomer is after, the one who got barely a thumbs up at the World Cup club game. Donald Trump loves attending sporting events. It's all he does now. When he's not dropping bombs and going after his enemies, his perceived enemies, he just goes to sporting events. It's all he does. So Pam Bondi decides that this is a good week during the Epstein scandal and her career hanging on by a thread to fire senior leadership as well in the Department of Justice. So you got the 70 lawyers heading for the door who quit and resigned. By the way, any or all of them that want to come on Legal AF, come on over. Let's have a conversation and brief our audience. Then you've got, continuing the draining of brains, you've got Pam Bondi deciding now's a good time off the United States Supreme Court decision from a week or so ago that gave Donald Trump the right to continue to just fire indiscriminately federal workers, even though that hollows out agencies that can only be put out of business by Congress, who's the only entity that can fund them. But the Supreme Court was like, nope, we're going to lift the stay and we're going to allow the federal workers to all be canned. So Donald Trump was like, all right, well, there's federal workers within the Department of Justice. Let's can them too. So she cans her head ethics lawyer, Joe Terrell, except she spells his name wrong. I'm not making this up because he posted the letter on LinkedIn and said he's going to continue to defend democracy. He's just not going to do it as the Ethics Council. Now, maybe he got sideways with the Trump administration and Pam Bondi and Ed Martin, who used to be the acting U.S. attorney for D.C., but he couldn't get confirmed there. So they slid him over to be the head of the anti-weaponization working group for Pam Bondi. You know, he's got those Jan Sixers in there that are working with him. And I'm sure this is one of his fever dreams to get rid of Joe Terrell, because Joe Terrell also, part of what he does in that office is look at financial entanglements and arrangements, determine whether there's an ethical breach. And he found that the $140,000 worth of free legal service obtained by then special counsel Jack Smith did not violate any ethics codes. Well, that's not what MAGA wanted to hear. So they dumped him. Without a cause, which they're not allowed to do. I mean, until Trump got in, we had a civil service protection series of cases and case law, and a Supreme Court willing to back it, and a merit system protection board to protect federal workers. We don't have that any longer because Donald Trump fired the head, and the Supreme Court said it was okay to do that, and he never replaced anybody, and there's no quorum to operate. So there is no protection for federal workers or unionized workers in America at the present time. There's no National Labor Relations Board. There's no Merit Systems Protection Board. There's no nothing. There's no Supreme Court protecting the rights of workers. For all you labor union leaders that decided not to support with all your heart and soul and with both hands and both feet Kamala Harris and the Democrats, shame on you. Look what just happened. Look what's just happened. So we've got everybody getting canned who had anything to do with the investigations or prosecutions of Donald Trump. That's obvious. And we've got all these career prosecutors and staff that are the legacy of the Department of Justice and the brains all heading for the doors, either voluntarily or involuntarily. I mean, Pam Bondi made it a litmus test. You know, you must zealously represent the Trump administration, even if it means putting your law license on the line. Erez Ruveni, who's the whistleblower against Emil Bove. Get to him in a minute. 27 pages, single space. Nothing says I might be able to scuttle a appeals appointment like a 27-page single space letter. The little known fact is Erez Ruveni, who worked for 15 years in the Department of Justice Immigration Litigation Division, he used to defend the Trump administration's depraved immigration policies of putting kids in cages and separating families and Muslim bans in the first administration. They didn't fire him then. So he was bipartisan. He was apolitical. But they don't want that. They want partisan hacks selected by Ed Martin or by Mike Davis or any of the other people. They just want highly partisan political people. You know who's not touching this with a 10-foot pole? Where are all those law firms that Donald Trump went after and made them bend the knee and pay a tribute of $1 billion in free legal service from 14 different major New York firms, including one that I worked at when I was a young lawyer? Whatever happened to them? You know what they're not doing? They're not stepping in here and being seconded to the Department of Justice to do any work for them. That's not working. And while all this is going on, and federal judges are looking carefully at new evidence that suggests that the Trump administration has lied to them about their immigration policy, about their control over the El Salvador prison and the like. Judge Boasberg looking at contempt again against the Trump administration. Judge Zinnis doing the exact same thing about Abrego Garcia. And then you've got the scandalous, unethical, corrupted panel of the D.C. Appellate Court with two Trumpers who are holding up and are, through an administrative stay, just not ruling and giving the Trump administration a win on Jeb Boasberg's decision a couple of months ago, back in April or May, to find the Trump administration and the Department of Justice probable cause for criminal contempt. People are like, whatever happened to that? Yeah, it went up on appeal to the D.C. Circuit Court, Appellate Court, and it's gotten blocked by Katsas and another Trumper. And they're not asking for additional briefing. They're not holding oral argument. They've just been sitting on it for 4 months to help Donald Trump. And nobody's saying anything about it. And the Supreme Court's not saying anything about it. I'm looking at them. Hold the hearing. Have oral argument. Schedule new briefing. They just got the whistleblower 27-page single-space letter accusing the Department of Justice of telling federal judges to go F themselves and lie to them, including Judge Boasberg. They've got new evidence in Judge Boasberg's courtroom that the Trump administration's been lying about who controls the CCOT prison in El Salvador, because El Salvador told the United Nations that the Americans are controlling the 200 people that they dumped there in the middle of the night, that they did keep receipts. And this was all sent up to the appellate panel, who's just sitting on it. It's criminal, it's unethical, and it needs, I want to call it out here, and it needs to stop. Now, Bove's going to have a hard time. He's already having a hard time. But we just had Cory Booker on Legal AF talking to Court Accountability Action, and he's going to be leading the charge along with Adam Schiff to grill and fillet and marinate Mr. Bove about his obscenely unqualified credentials to be on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. And that's going to be required watching. We'll put it up. I'll try to get it live on Legal AF, the YouTube channel, under our lives in the next confirmation hearing. But Cory Booker is called for, as have others, to have Erez Ruveni, the whistleblower, show up. There's a suggestion that there's more than one whistleblower, and they'll all come forward. And then we'll have to see what the Senate does. I mean, I'm looking at you, Lisa Murkowski. I mean, I know you folded on the budget in order to help 10 salmon fishermen. But there's bigger things at stake here in our democracy. Start being a statesperson. Stop worrying about your political fortunes. I know Liz Cheney was put out of business, but there comes a time when you have to take a stand. Let's get rid of Emil Bove. And then finally, let me touch back on the Supreme Court decision and the destruction of the Department of Education and the new lawsuits that are popped up around it. Supreme Court gave the green light to Donald Trump to destroy the Department of Education. It's been a cardinal, a tenet, a article of faith for MAGA and the Republicans about getting rid of the Department of Education. They do a lot of amazing things, including administer tremendous amount of money to the states to help with literacy and curriculum building. They also do a lot of investigations about civil rights violations, including on college and school campuses. That's now over. It's done. They're out of business. They also set testing standards to help raise the literacy and the intellect of the American student to have it be able to compete worldwide. Donald Trump doesn't like that. Donald Trump wants vouchers in private schools and all the things he could afford for his children. But I believe in a public education. In fact, I sleep better at night, not just surrounded by books, but I sleep better at night knowing that I live in a society that not only funds public education, but that cherishes it and celebrates it and respects it. I'm dumber having to report that the Department of Education has effectively been mothballed for the next 3 years until a couple of things, or at least until the midterms, when the Democrats can take back the House and get the Department of Education back up and running. Remember, these are agencies, these are creatures of Congress. I mean, that's what Justice Sotomayor just said in her dissent. We had another 6-3 decision here. This is not for the executive branch to put agencies out of business. It's only for Congress They want to defund it. That's a power of Congress, not of the president. They want to put an agency out of business that they brought into this world. They can take it out of this world, but not the executive branch. But nobody's stopping them. Supreme Court gives the green light. Congress is a doormat. Democrats are in the minority. Who's to stop them? But that doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it. We shouldn't cover it. We shouldn't drill down on it. We shouldn't use it as an animating principle as we move towards the midterms and in protests. That's why people are like, God, don't you ever get tired of talking about some of the bad news? No, because every part of the bad news is just a badge of dishonor, a badge of fraud against this Trump administration that we need to remember and hang on them and put a millstone around their neck and sink this administration. The only way we can do that is by talking truth to each other. So that's why we're joined together here on The Intersection and all the other podcasts that are on the Midas Touch Network, like Legal AF, the Midas Brothers podcast. I've been doing this with the brothers for 5 years. I joke that I'm employee badge number 4 after the 3 brothers. When we formed Legal AF together, we anticipated in our future that there might be a time where the defense of democracy and our constitutional republic was so important that we had to have a new community come forward. We did it with the Midas Touch Network. We did it with Legal AF, and now Legal AF, the YouTube channel. No paywalls here. All independent media, all independent journalism, all independent commentary. So if you want to support us, you know how to do it. Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. Legal AF, the Substack. Same thing. We've got Legal AF, the podcast. It's only number 20 in the world in all genres of podcasts on YouTube because of your fervent support, which we are overwhelmingly honored by. We just went over 200 million, I guess views would be the right word, on YouTube in less than 9 months. We're doing 10 new videos a day on Legal AF at the intersection of law and politics. And here I get to be unbridled, unhinged, unfiltered, and you support it. And I support you. I'm humbled and honored by all of it. But we can never give up hope because it's just that we are, I don't want to say the party out of power, but we're the party of resistance and defiance right now. There's things that we can do, and we're doing them together. We vibrate on the same frequency here. And that helps us around the kitchen table, around social media, at the time of the elections, in the streets, during the ways that we vote and come together in defiance, expressing our First Amendment rights. And there's limits to what we can do. But look to our leaders. We have leadership in Congress. Many of them have come on Legal AF and or the Midas Touch Network. Look to Cory Booker. Look to Richie Torres. Look to AOC. Look to Hakeem Jeffries. Look to Ro Khanna. Look to Adam Schiff. These are people we can follow into battle. At the state level, we got Gavin Newsom. We got Kathy Hochul in the governor mansions. Gretchen Whitmer. We're fighting every day for this democracy the way that we are, while the public interest groups like the ACLU, Democracy Forward, and the rest are fighting. They've each filed 70 to 100 lawsuits. There's over 400 lawsuits already against the Trump administration. Don't give up hope. With 400 lawsuits, we're going to be at the 4,000 mark by the time this Trump administration is over. We will win more than we will lose. And we are on the side of justice as that arc of history bends towards it. We're there. We're there. And we're patriots, and we're proud to be together as legal AFers, as whatever we're going to call people who come on the intersection, intersectionalists. I don't know. I'll float that for today. And I'm Michael Popok. So take a moment, and if you like this kind of show, leave a 5-star review and a comment under the intersection. Until my next Legal AF contribution on the Midas Touch Network or on Legal AF YouTube, I am Michael Popok. Shout out to the Legal AFers and the Midas Mighty. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every